some of the things that I'm talking about. And it just facilitates you learning the material and the content more deeply than you would otherwise if you were just listening and kind of smiling and leaning back in your chair. So this is a way to get you a little bit engaged. So we'll walk you through that. Great, I see some people still writing. Take another minute. Christine will go around in a minute and grab those forms. But the first thing I want to talk about here is the fact that you can think about any big goal, any dream. And I actually want you in the space where it says some notes right there in this first inside part where it says notes. I want you to just brainstorm for a minute. Take a minute or two. Think big about your goals and dreams, whatever they might be. And just write down as many as you can. It might be the dream house. It might be the dream vacation. It might be the dream car. This could be anything. I don't want to put any limits. You might want to run 7 marathons in 7 continents in 7 consecutive days. And if you do, God bless you. While you're doing that, I encourage you to turn the filter off. The little voice that talks you out of your dreams, tell it to shut up, at least for now. Can you do that? Is this exciting for people? Are you having fun writing down some of what you really want to see happen in your life? Some dream? Some big goal? I'd much rather have tonight be about you and some of the things that you want. So while you're thinking about that, I'd like to talk about, for a moment, one of my dreams, which was to write a book and have it become an international bestseller. I thought that'd be pretty cool. Does that sound cool? Now, that may or may not be something that you want to do, but from my perspective, I was looking at it from a couple different angles. In fact, one of them was purely selfish, where I thought that this would actually help me from a business perspective. You think a best-selling book could help my business? Me too. Absolutely, which is really great news. In fact, I had a coaching call with someone who was looking and reviewing my websites, and we were talking from a speaking standpoint. Hey, I want to get out there in a bigger way from a speaker, from a speaking standpoint. Get bigger gigs, bigger audiences, and this was the conversation. And one of the things we did is, well, let's go look at PeteWinarski.com and let's take a look and see what it looks like. And Jeanette's over there, she's going to throw something at me if I'm not careful, because she's been on my case for months to get this website updated from what it is now. So if she stands up and has an object in her hand, I need you all to protect me. Promise?
Get another black eye.
Yeah, I might get another black eye, that's right. But the advice, the way the site looks now is a step ahead of what I'm describing, of what it looked like back then. What it will look like soon, Jeanette, soon, will be even better and different. But we reviewed the content and the way it was presented. She said, overall, it's pretty good. But there's a couple things missing that I think would really make a big difference for you. And one of those was, what do you guess? An international bestseller. I'm like, well, okay, that ought to be easy, right? And then the other thing was media appearances, to get on TV and to have clips of the TV. So I said, I think she's right. If I want to play a big game in a big way, these are important things to do. It's not about continuing to play, small and just be content as a small player. It's how do I get out there in a bigger way? How do I take Win Enterprises, which is my business consulting firm, and get Win Enterprises more well known? And so bestseller book. We got to get that going. Let's get on the case. So I already had the idea for this book. In fact, it was probably well drafted. I'm trying to remember the timing of when this conversation happened. The book may have already been published, but we never did anything from a marketing standpoint. Here it is. The book's out there. But marketing is much, much, much more of an effort than actually writing the darn thing in the first place. We have any authors in the room? Anyone? So you know what I'm talking about. It's a big deal. You write the book and then you're like, yay! How come no one's buying the darn thing? Oh, I got to tell people about it. It's quite a quest. So again, I pushed the limit to what I knew how to do. I work with some coaches who are how to get your book out as a bestseller, and magic tend to happen over time, which was really, really cool. So essentially, this is what happened for me. In order to live the dream, you had to write the book. And it better be a good one, because if it's not any good, people won't buy it. They'll maybe see it and then put it back down. I realized I didn't really know the marketing equation, the formula for getting it to be number one and getting it to be internationally number one. I'm like, oh boy, that's a tough thing. I mean, this person's name, Teresa de Grosbois, her advice to me was, we're not talking about one country here, Pete. I'm like, oh geez, give me a break. I didn't know what to do, right? So I got some help on that. I did invest quite a bit in some courses. We were talking about Jack Canfield and Steve Harrison. Bestseller Blueprint is one of their courses, and I actually went down to Philadelphia the day after kidney stone surgery because I wanted to meet with these guys. And you'll do anything if you're passionate enough, right? I worked with Teresa. I worked with another person to help me get up the chain. I learned there's lots of techniques, and there is a system, there is a formula. And what's great is, once you know what that formula is, you can actually start to follow it with some diligence and get the results that you want. And so I put my expectations really high. Okay. Setting big goals needs to come with your big expectation that you're actually going to get there. And that big goal might be to do something that would normally take you years and compress it to a shorter period of time, or it might take whatever level of performance you want and get it way up there. This could be anything for you. We've got a lot of business leaders that we talk to. A lot of you are business leaders. What would your life look like if your revenue were not just to go up by 10 or 15 or 20%, but you 2x or 5x or 10x in a year or two? Whoa! Right? Now you're talking. I kind of like that, right? You could do the marathon thing. I shifted the triathlons after a while. Marathon's far. Triathlon, 3 sports. What a great idea. All right, so here's what happened. Here's what's pretty cool. This is on Amazon.com, which is the US, and Kindle. So you see number 1 in a couple categories here. Then in the UK and Canada. Now, what's great about Canada is the book performed so amazing. And yet, in those categories, because they were leadership categories, it made it to number 2, but not number 1. Now, it made it 74th of all the books in Canada. All of them in the top 100, which is also just like knock your socks off. But leadership is so darn competitive. I don't know who was in front of me, and I don't know what it would have taken, but boy did we try for a long time. Jeanette still has a headache from having the phone pressed to her ear with the folks in Canada trying to get the categories adjusted, because leadership is like the most competitive category you can imagine. It represents the book well, And it's great that we were number 2 in leadership, but it was hard. Now here, this is pretty phenomenal. It's maybe hard to see that, but here's the mover and shaker for this book. This happened to be in Canada. And what that says up there is, I improved 2.5 million% on that day. I don't know what that math is. I don't even know how to recalculate to figure that out. But basically, before the bestseller push day, which was October 1st, 2013, I was sitting at number 2,889,957. That was my rank. And the way you do this is you have to just keep going in and out of the sites and screenshot things. It's hard, they don't tell you, they don't send you a report. It's up to you. You got to look. And so by the time I noticed this, I didn't even know this was as I'm browsing through, I wasn't looking for this. I'm like, oh, I wonder what that is. I'm like, whoa, look at that. Screenshot that thing. And I had made it up as high as 74, as far as I know, maybe higher. But at some point I had to go to bed. I spent all day. Our team was gathered at 9 in the morning, and things didn't start happening until 10 o'clock at night. Why? Because the West Coast comes home from work, they have dinner, and then they go log on to their computer, and they look at Facebook, and then they see everybody's